Because what kind of person, what group of people would make a game that has hunger mechanics that you can actually choose to sleep longer than you'll survive?
Yeah.
You don't wake up. The game doesn't go, oh, time to wake up, you're taking damage. The game's like, you are hungry. Go on, go to sleep, it'll be fine. Hey interlopers, it's time to hang up your crampons and put another book on the fire. In this adventure we're talking about The Long Dark with Twitch streamer LBNEO. So get ready to repair your clothes and sharpen your tools. Find somewhere warm on Great Bear Island to snuggle in, and thanks for stopping by for the latest episode of Lore Stories. We're not going to use that.
Not going to use that one.
Not going to use that one. Dear oh dear. So hey, thanks for this is episode 4. Oh, I've got one in draft, so we're not quite. I'm losing count already, and I think I'm maybe 4 or 5
Too many
episodes.
already.
1, 2,
Too many.
3, 4. Yeah, 4. There's a game called The Long Dark, which
There
you
is.
love to play because
I
you're
do.
LBNEO. You are a Twitch streamer. So as far as the genre, player versus environment go,
Yeah.
this is probably the most accurate. People go, oh, it's PvE because, oh, there's animals or something. The Long Dark is a game where you're most likely to just trip over, fall over, and freeze to death.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It is pure environment, literal environment, weather, temperature, conditions, climbing, everything. You know, you've got to think about your food, you've got to think about your drink, you've got to think about your temperature, how much energy you've got. It's just, it's full on.
How wet your
let
clothes
alone
are.
the rules. Yeah, how wet you are. What the weather is doing. You're affected by literal wind. It will slow you down as you're walking.
So I played the story. I really enjoyed that, and then I got into the skirmish mode. What is it called? Just regular
Survival.
Survival mode. How did you find The Long Dark when you found it? It's changed a lot over the years. I haven't touched it for a few years, and I saw there's birds in it now, and fry pans, and different recipes.
Yeah, it's changed a lot over the years. I first found The Long Dark on Xbox, actually. I play it on PC now. But 2015, I actually looked it up. So it's 18th of June 2015 I purchased it. And yeah, I've been hooked on it ever since. It's just the most immersive game, but it has evolved so heavily over the years. You can go, if you play it on PC and you play it on Steam, because it's available on other platforms too, but if you play it on Steam, you can do a time capsule mode. So that allows you to go back to certain releases of the game, which includes the first ever alpha, which is ridiculous. It's so basic, so basic. But also, because I didn't get the initial release, so I probably found it a couple of months or so after. I'm not sure if it was 2014 or 2015 it got released in alpha. So my version was before there was even a bow.
Excellent.
So yes, so all you had was a rifle. There's no other weapons in it at all. Obviously, there's lots more weapons in it nowadays. But so yeah, the way you forage for wood was so simple. You literally stood in either indoors or outdoors and clicked the menu forage, and it foraged wood for you. Whereas now you literally pick up an axe and off you go and you chop the wood. I mean, obviously there's no animation
find the
for
sticks.
it, but
Yeah.
Find the sticks, and so even the simple things have changed. Cooking. I remember the first evolution of cooking. Cooking originally, you literally stood in front of whether it's a fire, a pot belly, a stove, or I don't know if they had the six point bit, because I don't think Coastal was out at that point, or Pleasant Valley. And all you could do was cook. So you clicked, right, I'm going to cook this bit of meat from a little scrolly menu. And you just sit there and cook and do nothing. Whereas the first introduction of an update to the cooking, you actually could cook and do something else at the same time, which was revolutionary. Because I've got free time. I can go and repair my clothes, or I can harvest some cloth.
Yeah, or I can
That's really good.
get lost on a tangent somewhere
Get
and forget
lost,
that I was
yeah, yeah.
cooking and all my
Yeah,
food's burnt. Yeah.
or not realise you haven't put enough fuel in the fire and the fire goes out.
Yeah, see, you come back to a cold house, no food, no fire, the whole lot. Yeah, yeah. I
Or
found
burn
that,
it, of course.
yeah. I did find it quite unique with the cooking. It was one of the first games I came across where you would start to cook and you have to wait in game. So you need to wander off and do something.
Yeah.
Or I had a few instances of burning food, but that you could heat up a drink and the drink will boil dry.
Yes.
It's a game that says you've got unlimited water. There's always water. You're never going to run out of water because you can melt the snow. But if you boil it for too long, it's going to evaporate. You're going to have no water.
Yeah.
You go, that's a bit too realistic. I don't know if I
That's
like
realism
that.
for you, yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's good.
yeah.
I love it.
How did you? When I first played The Long Dark, I played through the campaign, which was well, it was just the sort of the first section in the mountain village. Is that what it's called? And then you would climb down, and then of course you make it to the lake area. And it was like, that's it, it's over. Wait for a few months or a year or whatnot, and the next bit will come out. I do enjoy them, but of course, in the story modes, you have some sections with unlimited fuel. There's a few sections where there's always a fire going. And I remember going, there's a learning curve here, it's a challenge, and then going, I'm gonna try and go out on my own in survival mode. And of course, there's no unlimited source of fuel anywhere. There's not a single fire burning anywhere at all.
Nope.
And that's when the learning really started. Don't carry too much because you'll break your ankles walking up a hill. Don't walk up a hill too steep because you'll break your ankles doing that. Don't get too cold. Now you're going to get frostbite. You were running away because you heard a wolf and you ran into a moose. You just got murdered by the wildlife. Or you fell in through the ice on a pond. I do quickly want to touch on the art style. Spoke about this with Midnight Games about RimWorld, that it was a game that you could easily dismiss, that we both dismissed because it's so simplistic in its art style. And when I look at The Long Dark, it looks like a game that's not super exciting, and then I tend to realise that the human animations aren't thrilling, but I don't care. The visuals, the texture are done essentially in watercolour. Like they look very brushed on. Yes. And the way the colour palette changes to accurately depict dawn in the snow or dusk, or what a blizzard looks like if it's pitch black dark and you're carrying a lantern, is incredible. There's times you go, the game's hard and I'm always stressed, and I've always touted it to be. The Long Dark is the most peaceful, stressful game you'll ever play. You have
a perfect description. Yeah,
you have these beautiful moments where I only know maybe 3 of the maps, actually, because I'm always too terrified to leave them. And then you wander off and you go, I don't have any food, and I'm cold, and am I going to die of thirst? Am I going to die of starvation? Am I going to die of frostbite? You get 5 minutes of peace because you found some food and you found a rock big enough to stand behind it. You could light a torch, and you've got a moment to yourself where you're not actively dying, and you go, it's so atmospheric. It's always been the top of my list. If you've never actually had the opportunity to go outside and stand quietly in the snow in your life, the closest you're ever going to get is in this game. The way it sounds, the way it mutes the tones, the way things sound different depending on what the weather's been doing. It's such an accurate depiction of I'm outside alone in the snow.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hinterland, the studio that developed the game, obviously they decided to go for a very specific art style, and to a lot of people that looks dated or basic, but it's not until you actually play the game and go through the different transitions, whether it be a sunrise or a sunset, a blizzard, or even, which was added quite later on, the aurora. There's just something so beautiful about the game which you cannot escape from. I've been playing it since 2015, and there are still moments that the game stops me in my tracks and goes, look at this. How beautiful does this look? How amazing does this feel to be in this game and feel like you're there? You know, as close as you can be. Sitting by a fire with a fire roaring and some teas boiling with a nice bubbling sound. There's no wind. And you're like, wow, this is just, you could just sit here and enjoy that.
It's cozy.
Yeah, it really is cozy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to making some B-roll for this. I'll just put it on whatever the easiest setting is. I'm just light a fire, sit in the house. I remember, I think the very first time I played it, of course, I'm doing the campaign. You climb out of the plane, over the hill, down towards the town. And I went into one house, and I could see what I'm doing, and I'm going through the cupboards and whatnot. And then I've gone into the big house, had a chat to what's her name. I've gone back out again. It's getting dark. My brain just didn't make the distinction that it's getting dark outside, so it's getting dark inside. Because although that does happen in some games, the majority of games, if it's daytime outside, it's daytime in the building. If it's nighttime outside, it's nighttime in the building, and everything's well lit.
Yes.
Like the only thing that changes is sort of the picture of the windows would be dark. But it's like, I can't see it. I'm going, why the fuck can't I see it? And it's so gradual. I don't quite, I don't correlate it. And then it wasn't until later I went, it's because it's fucking dark outside. Of course it's dark inside. Yeah. That's what happens in real life.
Yeah, if we didn't have any power, everything would be dark inside. Especially some of the buildings covered in snow. Windows are covered in snow and ice, so the light coming in is less. I mean, they did adjust that over the years as well. If you go back to one of the time capsules, you can see it's almost like a beam of light coming in through a window, which illuminates that specific area and slightly outside of it as well. But they removed that because it was becoming a little bit too light. It's very bright inside in the old versions.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite surprising.
That's such a big part of their PvE, that player versus environment, which is a genre. I don't think it was called PvE at the time. I think PvE feels relatively new compared to first-person shooter or strategy game.
Yes.
I would look at The Long Dark and my brain would say, it's a first-person shooter, kind of?
Yeah, but I think a lot of people would make that mistake, especially if you see any kind of trailers or videos where people are holding the rifle or the bow, and they're like, right, okay, so this is like that game, but the Long Dark is like no other game, but also like other games, because it is so unique in its intensity and requiring the player to manage all aspects, not just right, I'm outside, let's go hunt something and bring it back and cook. You've got to think about your journey, you've got to think about what you're wearing, think about the time of day, because the time of day will have a bearing on how warm or cold it is. Whether there's a blizzard coming in, there are key indicators which are subtle, which the more you play, the more you pick up on. And that will give you an indicator, right, there's a blizzard coming in, or there's
Wait a minute, I can look at the environment and determine there's a blizzard on the way.
Oh yes, for sure.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Good, I didn't know that. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you get them wrong, as in real life, you might go outside and wonder, oh look, it's going to be bad weather, it's going to rain today, I can see there's a black cloud over there, and nothing happens, it's fine, it's dry, it doesn't rain. So the same thing applies in The Long Dark. Sometimes you get it wrong, but 9 times out of 10, yes, you can see the wind's picked up, there's some snow coming, I think there's a blizzard, this is going to develop into a blizzard. Yeah. So yeah, you can definitely get your key indicators.
I didn't know it. It's I remember I actually watched, it's one of the few games, I don't like to actually look up tips for games. I feel that most games have written into the game a way for you to learn how the game mechanics work.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I went, what are the pro tips for this game? And that's when someone said, it's kind of your midday 1 o'clock is the warmest time of the day.
Yep.
So if you're running around and you're losing body temperature, don't do it at 4 a.m. Do it at 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, even 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, first thing. The sun's up, let's go out. No.
Yeah, because you do. You go, I can see. I'm going to go out because I can see. No, you're going to freeze to death.
Yep.
And I loved the mechanic of how you lost health. It was, unless you were actively attacked by something where you'd lose a chunk of health, you don't lose health, you only lose condition. And once your hunger, thirst, temperature reach 0, then you slowly lose health, and the music slowly gets a bit more intense.
Yeah. And there are different values as well. So temperature will make you lose health faster than being hungry or tired, or thirsty. So it's just
which makes sense.
Yeah, it does, because you're going to freeze quicker than you are die of hunger, aren't you? Let's face it.
That's it.
But so you can kind of manage those as well. It's kind of, I think, you were saying about pro tips, and a lot of the pro players that play interloper or harder custom difficulties will use, as long as there's regen enabled in that version, will use their health as a resource, much like temperature, hunger, energy, and thirst. So you go, right, okay, I'm going to make this journey, it's a long journey, it's cold outside, I've got to make it, I've got no food. So you just travel and go, I'll take 30-40% hit to your health, and I'll just recover it while I sleep, because you recover health while you sleep, depending on how long you sleep. Or you can drink a birch bark tea, which will give you health over 2 hours. You can drink multiples of those. And
so they're quite happy to starve and die of thirst until just before they go to sleep, and they eat and drink and do it that way. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Well, that was an early strategy for Interloper, was the starvation method. So you starve all the way through the day, because you only lose 1% an hour. But if you sleep 10 hours, you'll gain more than you lose during the day. So you actually gain more health back.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that the first time, because what kind of person, what group of people would make a game that has hunger mechanics that you can actually choose to sleep longer than you'll survive?
Yeah.
You don't wake up. The game doesn't be like, oh, time to wake up, you're taking damage, or you're taking damage, you can't go to sleep. Game's like, you are hungry. Go on, go to sleep, it'll be fine. Then it just comes up.
You faded into the long dark.
Yeah. And I'm just like, son of a bitch.
Yep, absolutely.
This game. Can't throw snowballs at anybody, though. What's up with that?
No, you can't. No. That's a shame, isn't it? I never thought of that, in fairness.
I remember when I played briefly, they changed it shortly after. You used to be able to sort of wave a flare or a torch at a wolf, and it would kind of run away. And they removed that, and that made a lot of people very angry. Yeah, but it did. Try doing anything to a video game that's not going to make a lot of people very angry.
Yeah, indeed.
And then, well, I think because now they've added so many more weapons, they must have kind of always known, or they went, that's basically, that's a placeholder mechanic. Because I think if you hold a torch, you're far less likely to be attacked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although, correct me if I'm wrong there.
No, definitely.
What were your first runs in the Long Dark like, my friend?
I still remember my first death, which obviously was the first time I played the game. I loaded the game up. I'm in Mystery Lake. I don't remember the time I spawned, but it was probably afternoon. So I'm running around, not knowing the map, not knowing the game, not realising just how complex and brutal the game is to you. And I remember going, I must have been running around all day or all afternoon with run, and I had no energy. So I'm like, right, it's night time. I'm going to sleep. I don't know. I don't know where any buildings are, because the ones I went to, I can't remember where I went. I got no idea where I went because I don't know the map. It could be this way, it could be that way, who knows? So I was like, okay, well, I've got a bedroll. I can sleep in a bedroll. All right, it's cold outside, but I'll be in a bedroll. I'll be nice and warm.
That's how games work. You've got a bedroll, you can sleep.
Exactly, you can sleep. So I put the bedroll down, slept for, I probably would have queued up 8 hours probably, because that's what you normally sleep, and faded into the long dark because I slept outside and a blizzard hit.
Right, yeah. And because who sleeps 8 hours a night? Come on.
Welcome to the long dark.
Yeah. I remember even in the campaigns, which even now, although I don't have hundreds and hundreds of hours in this game, but I understand the game better.
Yes.
I remember dying in just the campaign on normal difficulty. I remember getting stuck on the tutorial of how to light a fire. Because this isn't... I get wood and I drop it at the fire. Fire goes. That's how games work. Fire. What do you mean I can fail to light a fire? And then it reminded me of that one time in real life I tried to start a fire. It didn't work. I can light a fire. I'm cool with that. But it just, you go... You actually can. And if everything's wet and you're outside and it's windy and you're like in a lean-to made out of a half-broken house, you're going to stuff it up. And I love the characters. They get mad. They
do get mad.
In a very Canadian way. Yeah, they get upset. Come on. But you can feel it. You're freezing and you can't light the thing. Come on.
So, yeah, other runs that I did early on probably were I remember, because they've done a couple of big updates where they've wiped saves. And I did take a break after the first save wipe because I was on 160 days. And this is before Interloper difficulty, which is the hardest default difficulty. They had Stalker instead, which is the one below it, but that at the time was the highest, and that's what I used to play. And I remember losing a run which was on like 160 days, something like that, because of the wipe. And that was a great run because I had food everywhere. The rifle with loads of ammo. They had the bow introduced at that point as well, so I had the bow. Lord knows how I even managed to use the bow, because if you go back and play that version, it's horrible. It's nothing like the bow of today. It's just, it sways everywhere, and it's a really weird angle. It's most bizarre. So yeah, that was a really good run, good clothing. Because I don't think they had the bear coat at that point, so it's a wolf coat, some deer pants, all the good gear, all the stuff that you, as a gamer, aspire to achieve to. You know, you're like, I can make this, so I'm
you
gonna.
make it, and you go, and you have to. It's
Absolutely.
a process.
It's like, yes, it is a process, and it's an achievement when you do it for the first time. And that run just got wiped because I think it was because they introduced Wintermute. I don't know if they called it Wintermute at that particular time, but it might have just been story mode. And that was the first iteration of story mode, and that wiped because of how it impacted the game, the changes that were included in that. So I took a break at that point, but that was probably my best run in the early days. And then when I went back to it, I could never achieve that same, you know, I'm always chasing that run. I'm always going, right, well, I did 160 odd days before. Why can't I do it now? We're going to go. Eaten by a wolf. Damn. That's just the way the game goes, because you might play it. You know, my hours in game of the Long Dark are in the thousands, probably 5,000 to 6,000 hours in the game now. But you know, 10
You're
10
essentially
years almost.
professional.
So
yeah,
I wouldn't quite go. There are some a lot better than I am, but yes, I mean, I would say I am good at the game. Maybe not exceptional, but I am good at the game. So I was always chasing my PB, my 160 days. Right, let's run. And the problem when you start doing that, especially early on in you know, this is probably 2 years into the game, maybe 3, is you still don't fully understand necessarily all of it, because they introduce new bits, because they've never stopped introducing, and they still are introducing. 9 years later, there's still big updates and new content coming out, which is crazy, really, for most games. Would not be doing that. That would have been canned 5 years ago at least.
Oh, yeah. It'd be the Long Dark 4 by now.
Yeah.
They'll just make a whole new one. Yeah.
Yeah, especially Call of Duty, I'm looking at you. So, you know, you're always chasing that goal, and you rush it. You go, right, well, I could do this, I did that, and you're rushing around.
Just go and kill a deer, day 2, it'll be easy.
Absolutely. And then you realise the game goes, no. There's a wolf around this corner which you didn't hear. And you walked around that corner and he jumped you, and you had to struggle with him. And the mechanics of the struggle have evolved, but the basics of it are, it's brutal. It hurts. You're going to die 9 times out of 10, especially on the hardest difficulty, from a wolf attack, especially early days when you haven't got the really good protective gear. So I think the most I achieved was about 50, 60 days consistently. I just couldn't get past it until probably sort of 4 years ago, when I started really getting back into it properly, and I ended up with a really long Stalker run, which I then got a little bit bored with, because some of the content that's there now wasn't in the game. So it was just a matter of, right, well, I'll just go from one base to another, one map to another, and rinse and repeat, which for me just seemed a little bit tedious, so I never got past that. And then I moved up to Interloper about what we now, we're June 24, aren't we? So about 18 months ago, shortly after I started streaming, and one of my mods could see that I was a little bit bored with the game, was like, why don't you just play Interloper? Play Interloper. Because I was on day 189, I think, on a Stalker run at that point.
Right. And
breezing through, because it was just
you had it. You basically had the map memorized, right?
Yeah, all my skills were pretty much level 5. I knew pretty much all the maps apart from 2. It's like, okay, why don't you just step it up and change it? Push yourself. Go to Interloper. So I know that's what I play, and never look back. I've even gone up to some of the custom difficulties, and I think I pretty much deliberately ditched a 200 and something day run because the new content was out, and old saves didn't have some of the new features that they put on by default. So I was like, right, let's start afresh. But nowadays I end up doing just sort of challenges.
I see your streams,
speed runs, and
you're just like, we're just going to try and do this, kill 100 wolves. And I'm
kill
like,
100 wolves as fast as possible.
Yeah, and I'm like, survive a wolf attack at all, but ever. Yeah,
absolutely. But it's not only have you got to kill the wolves, you know, as quick as possible. You got to do it with the use of a flare, torch, or a fire. So you know, you're going, come on, wolf. If I miss you, you're going to attack me, and if you attack me, you're probably going to kill me, unless I'm lucky. And yeah, I mean, it's the Wolf Wrangler Challenge made by Navigar and Lucky Fizz, his name is now. And I've been playing that consistently for 3 months non-stop, and this is a speed run. So it's the record, the fastest time, I think is something like 9 days and 10 hours, something like that, which is a ridiculous time. The leaderboard goes all the way up to, you know, obviously it's on interloper difficulty with custom, so you can pick your spawn, but all walks of players have played it. So you get the pros, which is why I don't class myself as a pro, doing the 9 days, the 10 days, and then you can get anywhere in between. So my personal best is 18 days. The two of the guys that made it, they're in the 30 days, I think. Although I think they can do better, but you know, they're just happy to have got a time in.
That's
they're not as competitive
just a mention.
as me.
Yeah.
So I think 18 days is my PB. I initially did a 21, went to 18, and I know I can do quicker. But can I finish that and do it quicker without dying because of the wolves and the randomness of it and the brutalness of the long dark? I can't. But that's what I enjoy doing with the game now, and they're all obviously they're not actual challenges within the game. They're just right, we want you to do this and this within the game mechanics, not using a few exploits, not using fire to help, so no helpful stuff, and it's just all made by the community, and it's just custom
I love it.
ideas of it. It's great, and I love it.
It's
Absolutely
nerds
brilliant.
Getting together and just being like, hey,
It really
we can do it. I saw
Yeah,
a funny
absolutely.
a Reddit post somewhere, and it's just a little comic, and it's a guy streaming, and he's like, yeah, guys, we finally did it, thanks everyone, thanks the community, and then it changes to a bunch of just guys sitting around a computer who are the devs of the game, and they're just like, oh, somebody just did this whole thing in 100 days using only rocks, and there's another dev behind him drinking his coffee, just goes, why?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not is what we say in reply to that. It's like
everywhere at Hinterland, they're like, this dude just killed 100 wolves in 9 days.
Yep.
Why?
Right.
Because it's hard. That's why.
Right.
Because it's hard.
Exactly, and it's funny because half the time, maybe not the pros because they're so good at it, but you know, the likes of myself and a few of the others that are in and around 15 to 20 days, and we're all complaining at Hinterland, going, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" And they're all literally probably doing exactly that. Why? Because our game works. You're doing something really strange with the game, which is not as intended.
Yeah, we made a game, got rid of the bugs, it works, there's mechanics and animations, and you're upset that we made a game that works?
Well, hang on, let's not get ahead of ourselves and say they got rid of the bugs.
I've seen a few clips of people trying to take... Shortcuts is the wrong word. You want to travel as quickly as possible, and especially around some of the cliffs where you can clearly walk, and the game just goes... No, you went off the map. The map ends there. You're dead.
Yep. And there's teleportation. I think they fixed those, but there might be one. There was 2 teleport zones. I can't remember where they are off the top of my head. It's been a while. It's not without its bugs, and it shouldn't be without its bugs. You know, it's a big, massive game, very complex, and they do their work to fix as many of the bugs as they can. But inevitably, you're going to get bugs. I don't think there's any game without them, no matter how far back you go in time in gaming.
It's any product ever made ever. No one is going to use it more thoroughly than the customer. You can spend 3 years and $1 billion on testing. No one is going to try. I remember
there'll be that one person that'll find something.
Yeah, in Diablo 4, and they're just like, all right, we haven't released the game yet, but here's whatever it was, 100 keys, 1,000 keys. Come and play the game. We're going to record what you do. Put it into heat maps. Check everything out. You guys are just going to... We can't find any more bugs, so we'll let you do it. Because guaranteed you're just going to find stuff. Because we never think, what happens if I go over there and try this, and can I climb around this mountain in that direction? I do like watching, because I can't possibly do it. People, when you climb up the ropes, so for those who don't know, you've got a rope climbing mechanic. I believe it's affected by some of the things you can wear. Essentially, as you run out of stamina, if your stamina reaches 0, the risk of you falling off is greatly increased, or you instantly fall down, something like that.
Yeah, well, there's two main factors. So you got your main energy radial, which is your overall energy for the day. So if that's high, you're fine most of the time. And then you've got a secondary one, which is like your sprint energy bar, and that's affected when you're climbing as well. So if you're If you're low on overall stamina, then your energy for climbing is already going to be lower and drain quicker. So they're the main two factors. But yes, of course, you can't also climb if you're overweight. So you have to be within your weight carrying capacity, which can change in game depending on what you've got.
Sure, yeah, yeah. And of course how tired you are and everything else, because you go,
Yeah.
great, I'm cool, I'm moving and I'm carrying stuff, and then suddenly I'm bitching and moaning because I can't. Because I'm exhausted, because I've been climbing around in the snow all day.
Exactly.
And these clips of people that at the tops of the rope, they leap off mountains and they turn around like 180 degrees and catch the rope right at the end. And like, that's fine. And there you go. And they're down, and it was totally safe. And it's like, I'm surprised there's not a rope burn mechanic.
Yeah.
Like, well, I think there is one. Like, you can hurt your hands or something while climbing.
Well, maybe, possibly hurt, like, because you don't hurt your hands in the game as such. You can sprain your wrists. So maybe if you fall, you do. It's been a while since I've fallen. Too many times doing speed runs, so I'm not doing normal gameplay for a while. But yeah, certainly you can hurt yourself falling. Whether it's like there should be a rope burn purely for that mechanic, as you just said.
Purely for those knobs that sprint, leap off these cliffs that are whatever 10, 15, 20 meters tall. And they just whip around and go, oh, I caught the rope at the end, I'm fine.
I've caught the rope.
Any other game, I wouldn't care. But yeah, cool, games, that's how they work. Yeah, but no, exactly. The Long Dark is the game. It's the gamer's game.
The realism game, The realism is, that's just too much. It's just too much.
Yeah. I remember, I actually own 2 copies of the Long Dark. I have it on Nintendo Switch. I had to go and spend a lot of time with a lot of family and had to be on an airplane, and I was actually playing the Long Dark at the same time. Like, at that time, I was just into it at the time. Yeah. And I went, I'll get it on the Switch. Like, I'm on a plane. I'm like 6 hours in the air. A lot of family time. There'll be a lot of, I'm beached, guys. Time to go to bed. And just sit and play my Switch.
Definitely.
And that's actually where my best run is, because I was so deliberately playing the game. It's about like, I'll play half an hour and get up and chat to my girlfriend, make a cup of tea, maybe go back to it, maybe watch TV, whatever. But no, I was really playing that game, and I think what the Long Dark does really well, it does have RPG elements, although it doesn't feel like it initially. It's not like, you killed 5 things, now you're level 2. Oh, now you've killed 10 things, you're level 3. And now you've killed 15 things, level 4. It's just not like that. Your skills develop in the things you do. The game becomes harder the longer you survive, because there's fewer resources around and you need to move to find resources. But at the same time, some of the things become easier. For example, cooking. And I remember killing my first bear. Oh my god. And I thought I was going to cheese him. I was up on a rock. I'm shooting with a rifle, and I'm just shooting this guy. He's just not going down. He eventually goes down. He gets on the rock that I'm like, I'm going to stand on the rock. He won't be able to get me. So he gets on the rock. So I'm off the rock, and you can't. It's not like other games. The movement's not quite the same. You can't leap. You can't parkour. When you think about it, the tree stumps are weirdly huge when you think about it. When you stand next to it, it's like here. Like it's at eye level. Then it's Canada, right? It's a fictional Canadian island, so it probably makes sense. And I finally killed the bear, and I skinned the bear. Crafting anything in that game is rewarding, because either A, there's a chance it's going to fail. I'm trying to make fishing line and I fail. Great, because I like fishing because it feels very safe. And then, of course, you're making rabbit skin. There's a rabbit skin hat. There's rabbit skin gloves. The last time I played, I think there was deer boots and deer pants. Wolf jacket, which is kind of fun because wolves have a chance of being frightened of you. And a bear jacket, which I think is the same. And I started making...
There's also a moose jacket now as well. So.
Oh, moose jacket. And there was a moose backpack. You could carry more. That was actually almost more important than any other item, is to just be able to carry more.
For sure.
And I dragged so you have to skin everything. That takes time, and while time ticks on, you're losing thirst, you're losing body temperature, you're getting tired, hunger. If it's too dark, you can't do it. If it freezes solid, you can't do it. So some people build a campfire next to their kill to make sure that doesn't happen. But then it's nighttime, so you better be damn sure you know where you're going. It's if you ever look at very, very, very cold places, like what is it like to live in Antarctica for 6 months? All the buildings look like Lego towns. They're all super bright high vis, and there's these really bright cables going everywhere. And you're like, when it's really snowing, you will get so lost, and the Long Dark is no exception.
So easy.
where I go, yep, I know exactly. I've come a little ways, but a dead straight line. I know the map really well. Killed the thing, pick up the stuff, turn around, go back the other way. There's places in the Long Dark. Right? Yeah, I've gotten lost 2 that I've never found again. I only do 3 of the maps, right? If it wasn't in the campaign, I don't know the map. There's that the mountain town. There's a place on the sort of world map that's north of Mountain Town. I found how to get there just the other day, like a week ago. I picked up the game from never been there before. I could see it on the map going, I know this place so inside out and backwards. How do I not know there's another way out? How do I not get out of here? I've gotten lost in places I can never find again. I've gone looking for them. Where was I? How did I get this wrong? I got lost in a blizzard, but I've got my lantern and it's snowing and it's windy and there's a hill. There shouldn't be a hill here. I was going to a place with no hill. And then just back on my proudest moment, to take the bear skin back, that's curing. You have to leave it all inside to cure. And you get so much food out of the bear. Yeah. And then you get gut worms. Because if your cooking skill's not high enough, this is real. I saw a wonderful post on, I think it's the Long Dark's Reddit page, where people in real life hunted a bear and ate it and got terrible, terrible, terrible food poisoning. And it's like, I'm glad, because you shouldn't be hunting bears and eating them. That's horrendous.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's wonderful because that's what happens in the Long Dark if your cooking skill's not high enough. And then I needed antibiotics or reishi tea once a day, every day for 10 days. And I had no antibiotics. Looted what I could, and that was the thing that forced me to go to other parts of the game that I'd never been, because I'm either definitely going to die or never get better, or I need to move. And it kind of speaks to the human condition when you consider how we used to be nomads. It's like, if there's no such thing as a shop, you can only eat and use what's around, you're only going to hang around for a few days. Like, that's it. And then to level up in something, it takes such a long time. And I think there's a few ways to cheese it as well. I don't know if you still can. Like, you can definitely get better at harvesting from dead things the more you do it. But I think there was something I still can. If you harvest the tiniest amount possible over and over and over, that gives you more than if you just harvested the whole thing all at once. More experience. The level system is done on the number of times you do whatever the level is. So cooking is how many times you cook something. For the first time, you can only cook something once to get a cooking point off it. So you can't keep cooking a can of soup over and over and over. Just pick it up, put it back down, pick it up, put it back down.
Wait till it goes cold. There we go. Heat it up again. So you get so there is a set number to progress, but obviously each level is larger than the previous level. So I think it's 25 items for normally, like cooking. I think it's 25 for level 2, and I'm not sure what level 3 is. I think it's 40 or 50 again, not total. And the same goes for fire starting. So the more fires you start, the level up more level up you're going to get. They all cap at level 5. But yes, you can still cheese a little bit, not like you could before, because they added the animation for harvesting any animals. So you can't quite get, because people used just to harvest, press escape or cancel on a console, and you'd get instead of harvesting the kilogram or however much you wanted to harvest, you get 0.1. Right. So every time you do that, not only are you leveling up your harvesting skill, you can then cook 10 times for 1 kilogram instead of once. So
you're min-maxing off 3 bunny rabbits.
Exactly. I mean, I've never done that. I've done half kilos. No, actually, I tell a lie. I think on one of my challenges, I once did the cheese harvesting because I wanted to get to level 3 cooking. Because once you get to level 3 cooking, you can cook stuff that keeps you awake and gives you more energy longer.
Really? I've never made it to level 3 cooking, so I wouldn't know.
Most of those kind of exploits have been removed a little bit. They're not completely gone, and there'll always be exploits, obviously. Someone will find some way of doing it.
Of course. Well, there's
no difference.
There's a difference between an exploit and a conscious decision. So, for example, if you went, I've killed more things than I actually need to survive, and I'm okay. But if the weather's nice, I'm going to just harvesting half a kilo at a time over because that, in real life that would be practice to go. Let's do it multiple times versus just take everything all at once.
Yes.
I think it was the first game I ever actually went and practiced, and I remember it was, and I'm so proud of it because even to this day, when I don't play the game for a year or more, and I come back to it as I have recently, I'm still not bad at hitting a bunny with a stone.
Yeah.
I'm all right. And I remember just starting the game terrible. And it's in the tutorial. Like, it's one of the first things it teaches them. Like, it just doesn't fucking work. This is ridiculous. It's like, this is like trying to hit a bunny in real life with a rock. Except the bunnies, I suppose, in the long dark are slower.
Yes.
And then I went, no, I'm going to practice. And I just booted up the game and just practiced for half an hour. With your thumb on the thing and throwing the rock.
Line it up. Yep.
I'm pretty good at that now. And then I'm proud of that to this day pick it up and go, I'm terrible with a bow and arrow. I'm going to say average at best shot with a rifle. Yeah. I'm pretty wicked good throwing a small rock at a bunny. And I was like, I'm going to hunt the deer. I'm like, I've just got 10 rabbits. I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I think hunting deer is probably one of the hardest things in games when you go hunting, because they are jittery. You can't get close to them, and
when you hit them with a rock, nothing happens.
Yeah, and you've got to fire from distance, and distance shots take practice. They definitely take practice. Whereas a bear, they'll come to you, or a moose, they'll come to you. I mean, it's a bit more scary.
Yeah.
You're going to get broken ribs from that moose stomp, but if you can get it down, two headshots and it'll go probably.
I've had
the first.
I had a cracked rib once, and it's the way that the male character, the way he carries on about his cracked ribs is so accurate. Where he's just constantly, just everything you do. So it doesn't hurt enough to stop you from doing anything. It just hurts enough to make it a pain in the ass.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a smell mechanic. There's a few things that it could be different now. I certainly haven't played the campaign, and I imagine if they're going to put a tutorial in, it'll be during the campaign. I haven't played like the first level of the campaign in years and years and years. Yeah. It's one of the few games I had to Google what do the symbols mean.
Yes.
For some reason, the game does a wonderful job at so many things. It just doesn't tell you what the symbols mean. I can't look it up in game. Yeah, no. I can't even. It's not even document like options. What does this mean?
No.
What are these squiggly lines at the top? And I'm getting more of the squiggly lines. To my brain, right? I play Elder Scrolls games. The more squiggly lines I get, the better. That's how Elder Scrolls games work. And I'm like, squiggly lines are sent, and the more of them I have, the more. Well, I think one squiggly line, wolves and bears will proactively attack you if they're nearby. Yeah. 2 is if they're nearby, they're going to actually seek you out on the map. And 3 is they'll actually spawn in to kill you, or they're just far more aggressive.
No, I don't think you can't make them spawn in, otherwise that would make the wolf wrangler I was referring to.
Sure, you just stand on a rock.
It's too easy because you just stand there with 3
all you need is 100 bullets.
But certainly it increases your radius of seeking you out or locking on in an aggro form without attack. So because they don't attack till they get to a certain range. So when they're in that radius, that's when they attack. But creating that stink, or having stink, whether it be 1, 2, or 3, and 3 is the max, will just increase that radius of I can smell you. So especially if the wind's going, because the wind will affect that as well for sure.
Okay.
So if the wind's going, it can be quite frustrating for the wolf wrangler, because you want the wind going this way, because I'm walking this way. I want it in front of me. Of course, the long dark being the long dark gives you a headwind, not a tailwind, no matter which way you're facing.
The game knows. It knows what you want to do, and it works against you. Yeah.
Oh, you want to go that way? The wind shifted. Oh, you want to go that way? The wind will shift in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Just slow you down. But so they will zone in on you the more stinky you are.
Yeah, no, I found that, and that becomes really interesting. So especially on the lake where you're fishing, there's wolves around, and you go, great, I've caught a couple of big lovely fish. I'm going to make it back to that gorgeous little cabin where I've got all my worldly comforts. But now because I have food, the wolves are going to follow me. So I don't have any food. I can just walk along, no problem at all. leaving your food. Just some of the pro tips. Leaving so your food degrades. It'll go mouldy, in which case you can't eat it or cook it.
Well, no, you can always cook. You can always cook food, no matter what, if it's uncooked, even if it goes to 0%, because cooking any non-canned food will give 50% condition to that food.
Ah, okay.
Interestingly, so always 50%. So any meats will go from or fish 0 to 50% if it's 0.
Okay. And there's a chance of food poisoning from anything under 50%.
No, I think it's actually higher than that. I can't remember because I tend to.
Well, you play on the big boy difficulty, so it might be worse.
do. So and if we get the internal parasites, buttworms as we tend to call it in game, then it's 20 days, not the 10 days you were having while playing Stalker. So we get it for 20 days.
On my happy-go-lucky 10 days, yeah.
Yeah, so it gets a lot worse because obviously the last few days are the worst part of it. You've really got to have everything in place. And you've got to have enough antibiotics or Roshi tea. So yes, there is a chance of parasites. I think it's about 70%, might be 60, unless you are cooking level 5. Once you're cooking level 5, you can eat you can literally anything as long as it's not raw. So anything is cooked, even if it's 0%, because even as you cook it at 0%, you add 50, but then if you drop it on the floor and come back 25, 30, whatever days later, it may well be down to 0%.
But you can still eat it.
It'll actually say ruined on it, but you can munch on that as happy as you like, because you cook at level 5, and it's fallouts, iron gut, or whatever it's called, lead gut, lead belly.
You
can eat anything.
Eat anything you want. I love that.
Yeah.
It's I need to touch on the sound. I've been playing some more of my older games I've been finding recently, and I'm realizing I would have played so many games that I don't remember, but the games I do remember had fantastic sound, and I think that non-diegetic element, which is the music of games, is so important. And what I love about The Long Dark is the music and everything's great. There's some wonderful singing in the actual campaign to talk about the different chapters going on. The game, it doesn't have music. There's no consistent soundtrack. The music only comes in to sort of puff the mood, whether that's something bad's happening, you're running low on condition.
Yep.
And it's so accurate to the slow dread. Yes, I'm aware that I'm less than half on all my stats and they're all going down. And the music's not hardcore, it's not in your face. It's just
it's not. It's
that slow, hey, it's kind of getting worse. Yeah. Yeah, and then of course when the auroras are about and all the dogs have glowing green eyes and everything's a bit more aggressive and weird.
And yes, the music is so well done. Because like you say, it's not in your face. It's also not like you play certain games, you get to a certain area and music kicks in, because it gives you a little warning. It's like, here comes a boss or something like that.
Yeah, it's like Legend of Zelda. You're in a town, here's the town music. Yeah,
exactly. But The Long Dark isn't like that. You can pretty much get any of the music anywhere. And yes, it kind of, you'll get certain music for if you're struggling. But there's a morning bit of music where it's. I mean, I can hear it in my head now. I'm not gonna.
Sing a few bars.
I kind of want to, but I'm not. You don't want to be listening to that. it just epitomises The Long Dark, and if I hear that, I'm instantly, memory flash, right? Full on vision of The Long Dark, early morning, and it's The Long Dark, and you're just transported there in your mind. And when there's been a few times when I've played it and that kicks in, and I've on stream, and I've literally said out loud because I can't contain it. I just love this bit of music. It is The Long Dark. It's just The Long Dark. It's just so good.
For me, it's I think it's from the trailer. I just while working, I'll often put on like OSTs, the official soundtracks of different video games.
I listen to a lot of OSTs. So.
Yeah, because they're great for, I can listen to it without, I don't have to sing along. Like if you put on Red Hot Chili Peppers, I'm not getting any work done because I'm going to start singing along. Put on The Long Dark, it's chill, it's vibing, it's non-distracting, and that piano opening that comes in, that slow build up. I love that. What are some of your worst runs And I don't mean like you jump in and you goof up and there's no bedroll and you just can't find a fucking bedroll to save your life, literally. But where like things are going all right and it's just gone to crap really quickly on you.
The first one that springs to mind when you mentioned that would be it's on my Twitch trailer for my channel, and it's the last part of what I cut in there, and I imagine it's reasonably early on. Because I've just left Mountain Town to go and forge in the forlorn muskeg, and I've gone all the way there, travelled all the way there, and lit the fire, put my coal in. Excellent, right, let's start forging. And you turn around and go, oh, I haven't got the heavy hammer on me, and you can't forge without the heavy hammer. And my response is, oh no, I've left the heavy hammer behind. and you know, while that's not a terrible run, that's just such a typical thing to do.
Yeah.
I've often left pots behind. I'm renowned for that, actually. It's been a while because obviously I've been doing speed runs, but I do leave pots behind. I've left a bedroll behind, and this is probably the funniest thing I've ever done. I've left a bedroll behind in a cave, again in full-on muskeg, and wandered off into Mystery Lake, which is not a far journey, and realised probably a day later, no idea why, but I probably just noticed it's not in my inventory. So I've gone back to muskeg. And it's taken me, it's night time, so I'm going to sleep in this cave overnight, and then I'll leave in the morning. So I slept in the cave on the bedroll, got up in the morning, made my fire, warmed my teas up, and off I went. I left the bedroll behind again. It's the one thing you go back for.
It's such a human experience. It's almost like if you're going to go camping for a really long time, like for a month, just out in the wilderness. You know, the psychology of what you need to be doing is so accurate to that game, because you leave, you go, oh, I got a nice bedroll, I'm going to be warm, you know, I don't have to try and get into different beds in different places now. I've got this freedom, I've got the bedroll on, I've got the great clothes, and oh, I killed the bunny out there, but the wolves are coming, so I run back inside. I've got my stuff here ready to go. I'm going to see the wolf might not be there or not. Maybe I can get another bunny, go and do one quick thing, or just check the boot of that car that's out there. Great, awesome. In my mind, I was leaving. So you go, and I left the saucepan behind. It's the only saucepan I have.
Yeah, that sounds
great.
Just like well done.
Covered in food that I can't eat. Yeah, can't cook it. Can't make water. I'm done. I'm dying of thirst, and I'm surrounded by snow. I do like the little quips they give when you get really hungry, and it just goes, yes. Can you eat trees?
Yeah.
Can you? The guy that drank his pee doesn't seem so strange.
I was about to say that one. Yeah. That was the line. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Oh, excellent. What are your best runs? What are the runs you really, or the moments you're really proud of, even if it's not a 200 days, 700 wolves down?
I mean, I guess that there are quite a few. Obviously, I've had some long runs. The 260 day, which I ended up losing while I was in the new zone, the zone of contamination, which I was exploring deliberately, completely blind, without, you know, I don't look up maps for new areas. I like to explore, because it's someone that's played many thousand hours of game. Having a new map unknown is such a wonderful thing, because it's like playing the game for the first time. So that was like I said, 260 odd days, and I was so comfortable in that run. I prepped quite nicely. I took food with me, because there was talk of not much in the way of food, because it's a contaminated zone, so there's poison and all the rest of it. The wolves are all a bit skinny because there's nothing there, so it's like, okay, take food. So I lost that run, but that's still quite a proud moment for me. But there are other proud moments, which are just little moments that are those things you do for the first time. So when I've started playing Interloper for the first time, while I had used the bow quite a bit before during stalker runs, you always had things like the rifle or the revolver to fall back on. So my bow craft, it wasn't very good. It was okay, but it wasn't great. And I remember the first time I one-shot a moose with my first shot immediately after crafting the bow. Now that, for me, as never one-shotting a moose, and I think I'd had a bit of a break before then anyway. So when I came back to the game, my skills were definitely rusty. It was only through streaming that I picked it up, and it was a month into streaming where I switched to Loper. So it was very very early back into the game after being away for a while, and just the way that I set that up was pretty simple. You stand on a tree, the moose is way over there, right, let's, they're slow, unless they've aggroed you, they're slow, they're just wandering around, they're munching on whatever's on the floor. So they're a nice, easy target. But to one-shot a moose with the first shot at level 1 archery is luck. It's RNG, really. So to get it on the first shot, it's not like I fired and missed a couple of times. I literally went, right, we'll shoot, bang, off we go. There goes the arrow, straight in his head, fell on the floor.
Great.
And that was a great moment.
That's a result.
Really was a great moment.
Oh no, that's
I think my favourite moment though is definitely going to be the bear kill that I did in Mystery Lake, which is if you know Mystery Lake, there's a load of fishing huts on the ice, right? And there's one fishing hut near where the bear spawns by that solo cabin, and what I'd done is I'd collected a load of stones as lures, because if you lob a stone, a wolf or a bear nearby will come and investigate that particular area where it landed. So I lured this bear, and if you go in a fishing hut, they de-aggro, they won't attack you. So I lured this bear to the fishing hut, shot him, didn't one-shot him unfortunately, would have been nice, but what happens when you shoot the bears? They run off, don't they? They go and run off. And I'm like, I can't have him run off. I need him near the fishing hut because I need to cook him. So every time you step out, if he's in range and he's not completely panicking, he will re-aggro to you. He won't necessarily charge you, but he might just lock on to you and start walking back towards you. So I stepped out a couple of times to re-aggro him, just to keep him in and around the fishing hut, because they will bleed out. So I did that a few times, and eventually I hear him die. I'm like, oh, that was close. I'm stood in the doorway of the fishing hut at this point. So I step out the fishing hut, turn around, walk around the back, and he's died 3 feet from the back of the fishing hut. Which is good, that's nice. I'm like, perfect, that's perfect. But a blizzard hits. So I can't stand outside and harvest him because I'm going to freeze to death. I can't start a fire to stay warm outside because it's going to blow it out. So I'm like, do you know what? I'm close enough to the back of this fishing hut that there's a pot belly at the back of the fishing hut inside. So you light a fire, put some coals in, and I had wood supply there anyway, because obviously I was expecting to harvest this bear, and lit the fire and had it burning the entire night. Stood outside the back, completely 100% warm, soaking wet because my clothes got wet from the blizzard, but I'm 100% warm because the temperature of the fire was, the radius of it was close enough that I was in it, and harvested the entire bear and cooked.
Excellent. Without freezing to death during a blizzard.
Without freezing, and that was just probably my favourite ever kill, and harvest and cook in the entire game.
Yeah, and for those who haven't played it, I think it doesn't sound like a big deal, but everything you do is challenging, because everything takes time, and you're constantly losing health, stamina, tiredness, water, or a combination of all those.
Possibly them all at once.
Like it's for me, it's always that wonderful moment where I have enough clothes that I can actually travel around outside for a period during the day, and I'm actually warm. I'm not losing body temperature. It's that's like the first milestone. Like, you're grabbing handfuls of food where you can, but I need enough clothes to be able to actually move around outside. Oh dear. What are your hopes for the Long Dark? Obviously they mix between we're focusing on the story versus focusing on getting other mechanics done. What are your expectations? What are your dreams for the Long Dark?
Well, I don't play the story mode myself. I did play it when it first came out, but I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't for me. I prefer to be in full control and for it to be completely, because the difference between story mode and survival mode is story mode contains NPCs, if you want to call them that, other people, whereas survival mode contains no one. There's no other person. There's no NPCs. It's literally you. Solo survival game is normally how I.
There's no one with a permanent source of fire constantly.
There's just nobody else there to even interact with, talk to, get beaten up by, whatever. So I don't play the story mode. So everything I hope for in the game will be in survival. It's been a while since I've loaded The Long Dark. I say a while, it's been 10 days, which at the moment for me is quite a while. There is an update that I think is either imminent or forthcoming very shortly, and that includes an update for both story mode and survival. But in the survival part, there's a cougar. So a new animal in the game.
Hearing you Long Dark streamers occasionally mention this fabled cougar.
Yes. So I am really looking forward to that, because if nothing else, the challenges that the community challenges that I've done within the Long Dark have taught me and improved my gameplay so much to deal with wolves, to deal with bears, to deal with moose. That I'm really looking forward to a new animal, and the cougar is a silent stalking predator. Unlike the wolf, which is a very noisy stalking predator.
You can see them very easily. They make a lot of noise.
Exactly, you can hear them, whereas the cougar should be stealthy. It should be a little bit surprising, so you just never know what's going to come around the corner. So my hopes is, I'm looking forward to that, and my hopes for it is that it really will be a little bit of a mystery to the player, to a degree, and like a real high level degree. Maybe it's customizable in that, I don't know, but I don't want to necessarily know it's there, expect it to be there, because with wolves, with bears, with moose, they're all in specific areas. I mean, there's more wolves than bears and moose, but they tend to be in specific areas, so you can plan for them, you can prepare for them.
They might not always be, but they're always going to be in some of those areas.
Yes, exactly. Whereas I want the cougar not anywhere in the map, because they've already said they'll only be in a few areas, or a few maps, I should say. But I want them to be anywhere in that whole entire map, and for me to have very little indication that they are there. And then I want them to sneak up on me and cause me problems, because I want more challenge in the game.
I dream for the day. And No Man's Sky, in its procedural generation, gives me hope this will happen. I'm a big one for The Forest and Sons of the Forest. I dream for the day where we can have games like that are procedurally generated. You might have certain like Diablo 2, for example. The maps are procedurally generated. Things are in certain spots, but you never know where one connects to another and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
I'd love to see some version of that being able to put into a game like The Forest, like Subnautica, like The Long Dark.
Yeah,
where
I'd agree with that. That'd be amazing.
The mechanics are really hard, but the best part for me playing Sons of the Forest was the first sort of week, because I didn't know where anything was, and I'm running around, and it's such a different level of fear in that game. And imagine playing The Long Dark, and every map you go to, maybe this is Forlorn Muskeg, this is where I go to smelt things, but the layout's different. So you don't know precisely where it is. You have to explore all the time. That's what I look forward to in games in the future. I'm sure it'll happen. What else do you stream when not streaming The Long Dark? I secretly already know the answer, but this is for the kids playing at home.
I know you do. I wonder why you know this answer. I have been streaming recently, along with yourself, Diablo 3, most recently, with you and a couple of other gamers, Crying Dutch Girl and Scaramanga, which has been an absolute blast. I hadn't played the likes of Diablo 3 for a long time. It wasn't my most favourite game, but it's just fun. It may be the Long Dark effect of serious gaming must survive compared to Diablo of
you can turn up and shoot marshmallows at monsters and everything explodes.
I just want lots of mobs, and I just want to kill them all in one hit. And I mean, Diablo is just, with friends, with multiplayer, with it's just an absolute blast. as you well know. And even if its longevity isn't that massive, it is still so good to play something like that. And we also moved a little bit onto Diablo 2 because that's one of my favourite games of all time. I spent many hours. My time in the Long Dark would pale in comparison to my time in Diablo 2. Not that these days you would notice, because I go back to it, I'm like, what do I do? I remember the maps, I remember the quests, but I can't remember how to build a character anymore.
Yeah. This is great, man. What's next for your stream?
So yeah, Diablo 2 is what we're going to be doing. We had there was a game expo like last week. I can't remember where it was, but they announced Civilization 7. And I'm a big Civ fan as well, so you might have seen me playing Civ 5 this morning, in fact, because I've played Civ 6 to death. My friend and I played that at one of the hardest difficulties again, so we've done with that. So I've said to him, maybe we'll do some Civ 5 in prep for, as a bit different in prep
as
for
a warm up
Civ 7, and I'll probably do that on stream as well. So that'll be interesting. It's more. Obviously, that's a turn-based game, so you can add a timer. But if we're playing against AI, PvE type thing, then we don't need a timer. And it can be a real casual, cozy game as well.
Neo, thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Yeah, man, no worries. You're welcome. It's good to hang out, good to have a chat, and happy to be here. It's good.
Great. Thanks, pal.
Thanks, man.
The Long Dark is made by Hinterland Studios and is available for PC, Mac, Linux, and consoles. I'm Abacus Cadabricus, this is Law Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next adventure.